Today on Small Town Big Deal.
From tree taps to toy trains, there's an adventure around every corner.
Then Jan puts all her hot air to good use.
Dang, that is hot.
Welcome to Small Town Big Deal. I'm Rodney Miller.
And I'm Jan Carl.
You know, Vermont is known for its small towns.
And for its covered bridges like this one, which is in Woodstock, Vermont, and has some great shopping here, I might add.
But Jan, you know, it's only a 30-minute show. We don't have time for shopping.
Just a little bit.
No.
What if I buy you a present?
Okay, well, maybe we'll find some time later. But first, we're going to show you what Vermont is really known for.
That's right, and that is maple syrup.
We're starting our Vermont adventure in the small town of Woodstock. It sits in the central part of the state, not far from the New Hampshire border.
This picturesque town has a population of about 3,000.
But the small town spirit of Woodstock, like many of Vermont's small towns, touches all of us in a big way.
Like every morning at breakfast when countless pancakes are smothered with what, Rodney?
Vermont's famous maple syrup. We're here in mid-March when syrup production peaks.
Giving us a front row seat to see how the soul of Vermont's forests become part of your breakfast.
So I'm pretty excited about watching how they make maple syrup.
Yeah, me too. I've never seen that. I've heard so much about it, but I've never seen it. Just outside of Woodstock is Sugarbush Farms.
That's where we find Ralph Luce walking among his crop of maple trees. His family has been producing syrup since the 1940s.
In our tubing system, we use a throwaway
Ralph's
spout.
going to show us just how sweet of a gig he's got making maple syrup. The first step uses a series of tubes to harvest a thin, almost water-like sap from the maple tree.
We have about 50 miles of tubing running through the woods. We use a vacuum system on about 6,000 of our trees. We're basically gently sucking the sap out of the tree and out of the line.
But as Ralph shows us, before they used tubing and vacuums, drills and buckets were the tools of choice to tap sap.
The bucket is like a stethoscope that allows us to eavesdrop on the forest's heartbeat.
And these trees work hard. Each season, a single tree can produce as much as 40 gallons of sap.
All that sap comes from one hole drilled into each of the Sugarbush Farm's 8,000 maples. And Ralph has 2 more trees to tap, but he's going to need some help.
All right, Rodney and Jan, let's see who can drill the better hole here and see who's the biggest sap.
Well, I'm not sure that's a title I want. I don't know if I want to win
This may
that
be
one.
one I'll let Jan win. It's easy to start. Even a girl can start this.
Oh!
I'm thinking this is a trick drill. Finally, that was a struggle we won't mention to Rodney.
A child can do that.
Oh! I was supposed to have this in first, wasn't I? I need to have this on first.
I think I'm in good shape to beat Jan.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. Jane's gonna win.
We'll check on those buckets later, but now we meet up with Ralph again.
So you guys found your maple trees and got them tapped?
We found them. Did you find a good one?
I hope so. I think so. Love that drill.
Great.
Great drill.
Ralph says a tree's age has a lot to do with the quality of its sap.
As long as it's at least 40 years old, which is, it's going to be at least 12 inches around.
That surprises me that a tree this big will produce as much sap as a tree this big.
Right. The sap might not be just quite as sweet.
So as trees get older, they get sweeter?
Yeah, they mature. That's right.
Oh, hey, there's hope for us. I know you and I were thinking the same thing. What do you think the biggest misconception is when people think about maple syrup?
I think most people think that they just, the syrup comes right out of the tree.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Already made.
A few hundred yards from the forest, the sap is collected in this giant tank. And look how thin it is.
Sap looks just like water. It has the same consistency as water. It's basically 2% sugar, 98% water.
So can I try
Sure,
it?
go ahead and dip your finger in there and try it.
Very faint taste of sweet.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're off to the sugar house. It's where sap becomes syrup.
Inside the sugar house lives this metallic beast called an evaporator. First, it's filled with sap that's pumped in from that giant tank outside. Then we fire it up.
Ooh, that feels good.
The evaporator boils away most of the water in the sap. It thickens up and becomes syrup.
Now that's some hot syrup.
Outside the sugar house, you know when the evaporator is running at full steam. Every hour, 700 gallons of steam are boiled away. It takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. Now I'll use Ralph's hydrometer to see if it's at the right density yet.
Okay, so then it has to be at that little,
On the red line, so that's not quite there yet.
look at that, it's not quite ready.
And the density won't be right until it hits 219 degrees. Then the steamy syrup is poured into buckets.
Once it's cooled and filtered for impurities, it's ready for sale. Ralph's mom, Betsy, works in the family store.
See, this is when we started making maple syrup this year.
She knows that Sugarbush Farms is a small town operation, but with a big reach. Betsy, you ship all over the world. Where's the farthest place you've shipped to?
The farthest is Antarctica.
Wow.
We ship both cheese and maple syrup to Antarctica, and it had to get there.
Didn't know they had mail service there.
Oh yes, they have mail service, and it has to get there when the airplanes can land, so it had to be timed just right.
And this farm was passed down through your family too,
Yes,
right?
this was my parents' farm.
When did they found it?
They moved here in 1945. They tried just trying to make a little bit of maple syrup and milk a few cows, and they were starving, so they decided to learn how to package cheese and make maple candy, and that's how the business started.
And today, their farmland played host to a contest between Jan and myself.
Well, mine's heavy.
I don't know.
What you got?
Gee,
Whoa.
Looks like Jan has more sap than you.
Look.
she's definitely sappier.
I'd like to say sweeter.
The Luce family hopes to make 2,000 gallons of syrup this year. They need to get back to work.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've got
Thank you.
some shopping to do.
By the way, before you leave, let's sample some of the syrup you made today. Take a little dip of that.
I like it. No, it's great. Gosh, that's sweet.
Hey, don't hog the maple syrup.
Hey, I've got the syrup. I'm perfectly capable of driving and holding maple syrup. And
Oh, no,
making
you're
it.
swerving here.
Coming up next,
Jan's full of hot air, but not quite how you think.
dang, that is hot. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Small Town Big Deal.
For me, one dream I've always had is to blow glass.
Seriously, since I was 10 years old and first saw it done, I have wanted to do glass art. I mean, the shapes, the colors, always fascinated me.
So we stopped in at Jennifer Sears Glass Art Studios to live the dream. It's located in Lincoln City, Oregon, situated on the coast about 90 miles southwest of Portland.
And it's so cool. Yeah, you know, I mean, really, I've had people tear up because it's such a.
You'll forgive me that I don't think I'm going to tear up today.
He'll wait till later.
Yeah.
This probably is not going to have the same effect on me that it has on her. But, you know, it looks like I can see how you can make the round stuff as I was watching a little bit. But some of this stuff you make, I don't get how you do that. I mean,
Like the seashell, right there.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How on earth?
So this is a bubble that started on the pipe on this side. Then you flip it around and you form this part, and you take a knife and cut that in and tweezers and pull out. And then you punty, which is a term for a rod with a little piece of glass, and you flip it around, and then you torch a hot spot, and then you cut it, and
Oh,
you're
she makes it
sculpting
sound so easy.
They are super not easy. Yeah. Sometimes people are like, "Can you make a shell?" I'm like, "No." Or a fish? No. Definitely.
No horse head.
Yeah. We kind of, we gear the class so that you'll have a successful piece.
Hey, let's go make some glass.
All right, sounds good.
I'm ready.
So we proceeded to split up. Kelly was going to help me make a paperweight.
I'm just some pretty nice gloves. I might try to slip these in my pocket on the way out.
And Andrew would be my glass guru to help make a big bowl.
Something neutral so I could put it in any room.
Ready? Go.
Woo, that's hot.
This front section on the rod is dangerously hot. You get a bad souvenir when you grab on up there.
Don't want that.
Touch down and then flip it over, black on the other side.
Great. So this is hotter than the first one. This one's 2,300 degrees.
I knew that was no ordinary hot flash.
Just kind of pinch down on that.
Oh, so that doesn't spin.
Yeah.
Swish.
Go ahead and just start coiling all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
Feels almost like taffy, right?
It does.
Am I doing all right?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Awesome.
And blow again.
We're done. Woo!
Kind of like that right there? Don't mess my paperweight up.
I
okay?
know.
Wow.
This is the moment of truth, right?
This is Mac. There you go.
Hey.
There's your bowl.
Wow.
Would you say I did pretty good? Or?
You did great.
So would you look into the camera and say, Jan, Rodney did really good?
He did so good. Yeah.
And you'll have a nice surprise coming in the mail.
Yeah. Okay, let me see.
Well, it's not very complex, but it did turn out pretty nice.
It's beautiful. Oh, I love the colors.
It's pretty cool.
That is so cool. All right. Ta-da.
Oh, wow. Now yours is complex.
Yeah, I had a lot more help.
Well,
I didn't do
you
this.
did a good job.
Yeah, not as independently as you did yours, but I
don't
know
know
I
about
said I might give it to Mom, but don't tell her. I think I'm gonna keep
I hope
it.
she's not watching, but she watches every week.
Sorry, Mom.
Up next, see where American made means working hard.
And playing hard.
You're watching Small Town Big Deal.
Welcome to Middlebury, Vermont, and the big deal here.
Isn't just child's play, it's a one-of-a-kind business. We think you're gonna like this one a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Middlebury in March isn't usually drenched in rain like this.
It should be covered in snow like this. But rain or shine, Middlebury is a charming New England town of about 8,000. It sits in western Vermont, not far from the New York state border.
But when the weather is gray in Middlebury, there's a place here that's always colorful.
There you go.
Welcome to Maple Landmark Woodcraft, where they make wooden toys, games, and gifts.
Somewhere along the line, you've probably seen their most popular item, the name train.
Oh, Jan, I really like this one.
Me too, Rodney. But the toy trains made here are only the tip of the iceberg, says Maple Landmark's owner, Mike Rainville.
If you had to give us a figure on how many items you make in a year,
Last year, about 800,000.
That's 800,000 little.
That's everything. Everything
That's a
from
bunch.
wooden nickels to rocking horses.
When it comes to the business of making wooden toys, Maple Landmark really is the only game in town.
As a wooden toy producer, we're about the largest company left in the country. We're not that big, but there's not really that many companies left in this country doing what we do.
Today, Mike has 40 employees who are proud of the company's Made in the USA label. But Mike started as a one-man operation in 1979 when he was just 15.
What did your mom think of your young business?
She encouraged us, she helped out. The whole family's helped out along the way.
And Mike's payroll reads like a who's who at a family reunion. That's his sister Barb checking on the production line. The lady painting letters today, that's his mom Pat. You got some paint on your sneaker there, Pat.
And on yo-yo duty,
My hands don't seem to get tired.
that's Mike's 93-year-old grandmother, Harriet. Jan, there's something strangely familiar about this place.
I think you're right, Rodney.
it kind of reminds me of Santa's workshop. Do you ever think that?
People tell us that all the time. Santa comes here too, so.
Does he really?
Oh yeah.
I bet Santa has as much fun during his visits as I'm having with Mike's sister Barb.
All
While Jan's off playing around, I'm getting down to work making red toy tractors with Mike.
Let's do it.
First, you got to put a magnet on the front side. Okay, we're going to put the magnet on the other side.
So different polarity magnets.
Yep.
And then I put them here.
Yep.
And hey, I did it.
And then you can test it.
Some glue, a few wheels, and a little elbow grease later, it's finished.
So Mike, my first tractor, you know, I really enjoyed this. So I've been kind of rough on Jan this week, so maybe you could help me make something for her.
You know what? I got just the right idea for you.
Well, let's go do it.
All right.
The toy making stuff in here is almost as neat as the toys themselves, like these lasers that cut wood. I bet with a little help from Barb, I could make something pretty cool for Rodney.
So this is going to be like a little truck. Oh, that is so cool.
I'm not gonna say what I'm making, but it's going to be great, because I'm on my way to see the master.
Now, Grandma, Mike sent me over here. He said you'd help me. Is that okay? Will you do that?
Yeah, I will help you.
So, should I put some glue on this?
Yes.
Look at that, it's magic. Nothing up my sleeve.
Does it turn?
Yep, it turned.
Good.
So we're just going to put a clear coat of lacquer over it, and we're just spin it around the edge
Spin it
just
around.
a little bit. Whoop.
What's it like to be working for your grandson?
We were with him when he started, and his grandfather was so interested. He was so anxious to have it work well, and so we both got very involved. And you can't ask for anything any better than that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for helping me today. This was fun. So, Jan, you know, I had a little time and I just made you a little something to kind of welcome you to Small Town Big Deal.
Thank you, and I made you a little something. It is kind of a little something, isn't it? Yes, to say thank you for having me. So remember, really cool things come in little packages.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
But now,
but yours is mine's personalized.
so I did a little something extra
You
there.
did. It brings a lot more value because Rodney Miller's autograph is on it.
Thanks, Jan.
thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
One final bit of Maple Landmark woodcraft trivia. So far, this factory in the small town of Middlebury has made 7 million wooden toy letters.
That's 7 million and counting. Welcome back to Small Town Big Deal.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Small Town Big Deal.
You know, we like to celebrate a lot of things on the show, and in this episode, we really celebrated things made by hand still in America.
Yeah, and then to go to the largest wooden toy factory in America and to get Grandma to help me build some toys.
You know, I think you had a crush on her.
This is pretty sweet.
I have my bowl, my glass bowl, proudly displayed in my living room.
Good for you.
And did you consume all your maple syrup?
Oh, way too much maple syrup. And so did our executive producer.
Yeah. His kids aren't allowed to touch his.
I'm Rodney Miller.
I'm Jan Carl.
Join us again next week when once again we celebrate the great stories from across America. The winning hook. And what is this little thing called?
It's a spout.
This is the winning hook and spout. This is the losing hook and spout.
All right.
Just saying. These are really easy to start.
Good job, Rodney. You want Jan to help you?
No.